I am once again asking for your financial support.
Hey all, I've been really active over on this app, TikTok, where my videos have received hundreds of thousands of views. I also do my podcast on YouTube, which is another small channel that I don't get paid for. My TikTok nor my YouTube channel are monetized, so I make zero money. If you enjoy the stuff that I make, please consider being a patron of my Patreon page. Don't get me wrong, you sharing, liking, and enjoying the content is enough for me, but if you want to go that extra step, and help your boy eat and maybe pay a bill or two, especially in a landscape where content and music are shared extensively without any real credit or compensation going to the artist. Patreon.com/Neil P. Neil P. Thanks in advance. Love you, love you. Hello and welcome to episode number 81 of SUPcast, and we're going to entitle this episode Getting Older. Getting older is not something everyone gets to do, and I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I even made a post today, because tomorrow I have a thing that's called a colonoscopy, where they go up your butthole with a camera, and they rifle around your colon with some sort of camera. And I don't know exactly how it works, but I know they're going to look for stuff because I'm genetically predisposed. And that's a term that they use. It's a predisposition to colon cancer. In fact, that's what killed my dad. So when COVID hit, I was like, my farts smell different. And I started getting, I'm kind of a hypochondriac. I started getting this weird feeling. I was like, what the fuck is going on with me? Why do my farts smell different? You know, I've talked about it on the podcast before. And before I put two and two together and my brain made the connection that, hey, maybe your farts smell different because a lot of stuff smells different because you got COVID twice. Maybe this is why your farts smell different. But I didn't go there at first. I was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I was eating a lot of protein bars at the time as well. So I was a little constipated and I was really gassy and my farts smelled different. So I'm like, oh, something's wrong with my stomach. So I went to a GI doctor and I said, hey, I just turned 41, which is older than I ever thought I'd be, for the record. And I'm going to get back to that. I just turned 41, gastrointestinal doc. What are we going to do about it? Well, do you have any family history of colon issues, stomach issues? I said, man, my father died of colon cancer. Well, we better get you in for a colonoscopy. And it's been a long time coming. They had to push the first one back because they double booked it. And I got mad at the lady on the phone and I'm like, what the fuck? And tomorrow's the day. I've been drinking the solution and I've been taking stool softener and the diarrhea has begun. So yeah, I'm cleaning out my system and I'm adhering to their protocol, which according to St. Joe's Medical Group, 7 days before your procedure, you got to pick up a bunch of Miralax and what's called Dulcolax, Dulcolax, which is a stool softener. And then you need to obtain, I like that it says obtain a total of 128 ounces of Gatorade. So pretty much I've been drinking this Miralax Gatorade mix. And I'm probably going to have to pause at some point during the recording of episode 81 of SUPcast to go and have another terrible bowel movement. It isn't so terrible though. Because I in 2019 I got what Allie refers to as the poo flu, and my mother had some septic backup in her basement, and it pretty much littered the entire basement with sewage. And this was back in 2019, and Allie and I at the time we hopped on a plane. We were living in California, and we're like, we're gonna help my mother. So we hopped on a plane and we helped her pretty much throw out a bunch of shit that was contaminated with poo. And when I went back to California, I got the poo flu, and we think I got the poo flu from ingesting some fecal matter. So I would equate this colonoscopy prep to somewhat of a poo flu type thing, and that's where you just have to keep running to the bathroom over and over again. Yeah, and when I got the poo flu, that I had never had diarrhea that intense. It was I was in a lot of pain, and I just kept going to the bathroom over and over and over again. And this was at a time where Allie and I were living in the living room of a house that was already occupied by like 6 people, if you count girlfriends or significant others. Yeah, there was about 9 of us in this house, and a bunch of us, I think there were 6 of us sharing one bathroom. And I was in there fucking every 15 minutes, just lighting it up. Poo flu. So yeah. But back to the whole getting older thing. I told myself today that, I'm going to tell everyone I'm getting a colonoscopy. And to me, that is a sign that I made it. I didn't think I'd be old enough. I didn't think I'd live past 30. When I was in my drinking days and when I was a fucking terrible alcoholic, I didn't think I was going to make it past 30. And I remember going on a walk after one of my binges with my mom as I was coming down from the alcohol and the anxiety started setting in. I remember crying, and I remember my hands were shaking, and I remember like going on this walk. I was in my mom's neighborhood with my mom. This was back when she could walk, when she could walk distances. And I just remember crying and telling her, it's like, I don't think I'm going to live to be 30. And I can only imagine how worried she was, because here I was just laying this on her that, I'm sick. I'm an alcoholic. I do this thing where I binge for days at a time. And I don't know, one day I'm just not going to wake up. And I was having like this panic attack. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. And that's what would happen. It was this cyclical thing. It would be like 4 days of binging. And then the day I'm coming off the booze is the day I would have this severe anxiety. And I remember, going on that walk with my mom and just crying and being like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. But y'all know the story. I quit drinking in 2008. And so I post this thing today. I'm like, yo, shouts out to all my addicts. Shouts out to all the addicts. Here, let me find it. I actually took it off Facebook because something fucking happened today. I put this video out there, and I'm just like, I made it. But someone my age and someone from my town didn't make it today. And we're going to go into that. So this whole podcast is about getting older, and some of us aren't afforded that opportunity. Some of us never made it to their first colonoscopy. Some of these motherfuckers died in their 20s, and the older I get, the more people just disappear. And let's click this little thing right here. Shouts out to all my fellow addicts, people in recovery, people who thought they wouldn't make it to age 30. Tomorrow's my first colonoscopy. I made it. And that's it. That's the video. That's me saying, shouts out to all my fellow addicts. Shouts out to anyone who didn't think they would make it to 30. Tomorrow's my first colonoscopy. I fucking made it. And as goofy as it may be telling the world that you're about to get a colonoscopy, there's a source of pride and a source of luck and a source of gratitude that I feel when I'm telling the world that I'm about to get a camera up my ass, because did I think I was going to make it to 40 fucking 1 years old? No. So I'm proud of myself because I fucking made it. The van crash didn't fucking kill me. I didn't kill myself with alcohol. And I didn't kill myself during the pandemic when I was super fucking depressed. I never took, so I'm proud of myself, and I posted the shit, and people are like, you made it. Congrats. It's not like a big fucking post, It's not that big of a fucking deal. It's just a kind of a joke. It's like, I'm old enough to where they could stick a camera up my ass for health reasons. And I'm proud of that shit. But then I'm in the grocery store with Allie, and I'm just scrolling through fucking Facebook or some social media, and we see this. The Black Dahlia murders, Trevor Strnad, if that's how you pronounce his name, has died. And this is a Detroit guy. And he was born in 1981, the exact same age. He and I are the exact same age, and he's gone. No one knows exactly what happened, but if you read the post on Instagram, it says the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and it has the number right there. So is it alluding to the fact that he potentially took his own life? Possibly. And why would they put that number if he didn't take his own life? It's tough to say. I don't know any of these people personally, and I'll get into my Black Dahlia murder story. It's fucking eerie because this hits close to home. A lot of people I know this dude personally. And when I first signed up for Twitch and first started streaming, he was doing retro games. This dude has just always been on my radar. And I've seen Black Dahlia Murder like back in the day. I watched them open for The Haunted, and I saw them in 2003 when they released Unhallowed on Metal Blade Records. It was their first Metal Blade release. And I'm going to tell that story too, but let's watch this clip real quick. This hits close to home. This is a Detroit dude.
On their social media.
Hold up. Here we go.
Hello, it's Tony with the latest rock news. The music world has lost another great as the Black Dahlia murders. Trevor Strnad has died at the age of 41. The news was delivered by the band on their social media with a statement that reads as
he was born in 1981, at the same age.
Follows. It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing of Trevor Scott Strnad, beloved son, brother, and shepherd of good times. He was loved by all that met him, a walking encyclopedia of all things music. He was a hugger, a writer, and truly one of the world's greatest entertainers. His lyrics provided the world with stories and spells and horror and whimsy. It was his life to be your show. The cause of death was not provided, but the band did offer the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number within their message at 800-273-8255. This is a developing story, and we will continue to update on loudwire.com as more information becomes available. Rest in peace, Trevor.
Yeah, this is fucking heavy because this is like one of our homies. This is like someone we know. I remember in the early 2000s, I had a friend that I met in like 2002, and he worked for Real Detroit Weekly, and he's still alive. His name's Ryan Bartek, good friend of the band, good friend of mine. And he was like, the Black Dahlia murder, this band's going to be huge. Then they were a local band at the time, and they were playing with like Walls of Jericho, and there's a very small, tightly knit metal scene in Detroit. And you just started hearing this name, Black Dahlia Murder, Black Dahlia Murder, Black Dahlia Murder. Because people knew these dudes. They were just homies. They were like the bros. They were from Waterford. And they recorded with the dude that we recorded with right around that time named Mike Hasty. And Mike Hasty is in a band called Walls of Jericho. So these are people you just bump into at shows. And you would go to a local show at like Mr. Muggs or something, Black Dahlia Murder would be playing. And then they got signed to fucking Metal Blade after doing an EP or something. They may have done like 2 EPs, but they got signed to Metal Blade, and that was a big fucking deal because bands, extreme bands didn't get signed out of Detroit. Bands like White Stripes did. You know, the garage rock scene, they were signing a fuckload of bands from the garage rock scene in the early 2000s because once White Stripes broke, record labels saw dollar signs. They signed the Von Bondies, and the bands like the Sights blew up, and bands like the Hard Lessons blew up in like the mid 2000s. And as far as like bands like breaking out of some sort of extreme or weird scene, there was in the later 2000s there was Icy Stars, but as far as extreme metal is concerned, I think Black Dahlia Murder is one of the only bands I could think of from that time that broke out nationally as far as extreme metal in Detroit is concerned. I mean, there were always great bands in the Detroit area, but none of them like broke out nationally. So this was a big deal. And the year was 2003, and I remember this day fucking vividly because I think I had seen Black Dahlia Murder open for The Haunted previously, and this was at Majestic Theater. They played open for The Haunted, and I remember watching Trevor on stage, and he was like a bigger, dorkier, kind of like a dorky looking dude, and but he really commanded the stage, and his voice really stood out because he could do these this really shrill kind of voice, and then he would come in with the death metal growl. I can't even do the death metal growl, but I just remember being like, "Yo, this guy's a good vocalist. He's a great death metal vocalist." And he had like a sense of humor to the performance too. He didn't take himself too seriously. You could tell he was having a lot of fun. So there's a lot of metal motherfuckers take themselves so seriously, and that's something that I think the Black Dahlia murder really brought, was a sense of humor and a sense of fun to this genre. And this is just my experience, because I didn't really listen to too many of their albums. I had Unhallowed, and then they came out with another album called Miasma or something in like 2005, and that's like, those are the only two albums I actually heard. So I don't have like a huge knowledge, but I just know that these were like the homies, like party dudes, huge metal fans, and just some dudes from Detroit that didn't take themselves too seriously. They didn't have any sort of like a gimmicky image. They just fucking played brutal fucking music, and they loved the genre, and they were very dedicated to death metal. It was a thing you could tell they took very seriously, even though they didn't take it themselves too seriously. So I remember seeing them for the first time and be like, "Wow, this is a great band." And they were in 2003. They had signed to Metal Blade, and they were playing at a place called the Magic Stick. And I was with my ex at the time, and we went to this thing called the 4th Street Fair. Now, the 4th Street Fair was just a local kind of street fair on this dead-end street behind 94 in Detroit, and they did it every year for many, many years. And so my ex and I, before going to the 4th Street Fair, I was a big-time alcoholic at the time, so I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pregame. And the thing I like to do pre-gaming was watch the Doors movie, Oliver Stone's Doors movie, the really cheesy, naked Native American, Jim Morrison is a shaman. I don't know if y'all need to check it out. If you haven't seen it, check out Oliver Stone's The Doors movie, and it's starring Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison. It's one of his most famous roles. So what I used to do is I would pregame, and I would drink hard liquor and watch the Doors and get prepped for a day of being a drunk asshole. Essentially, I would watch Jim Morrison on screen being a drunk asshole, and I would drink hard alcohol, and I would get ready to be a drunk asshole myself. So I went to the 4th Street Fair with my then girlfriend, who was a bulimic yoga instructor. And we both were sick. I was an alcoholic, and she was a bulimic yoga instructor. And I would try and protect her in my own way, and I would try to get her to take better care of herself. And she watched me essentially gain 50 pounds in 6 months to the year that we first started dating, and just become very comfortable, because it was the first time I was ever really in love, and I was just drinking myself into fatness, and I had just gotten really big, and I would just do nothing but sit around and eat candy, and I didn't do much besides my band. I didn't really have a job. And she was teaching yoga classes and in art school, but she had an eating disorder, so she would be hurting herself. I would be hurting myself, and together we were toxic. And there was, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I getting into my first serious relationship with this person, I was extremely jealous. She was attractive. People were always trying to court her, trying to steal her away from me, is what I was thinking. But she loved me. She wanted to be with me, but I was a fucking maniac, and I was a drunk piece of shit. So back to the 4th Street Fair. I'm pre-gaming, watching the Doors movie, and I got pretty fucking drunk. And we go to the 4th Street Fair, and we're walking around, and there's bands playing, and it's fun. And we're having a good time. But as we pull up to the thing, I watch her purge. I watched her stick her finger down her throat. And at that point in time, because we had been dating, and I knew that she had this eating disorder, I had never watched her actually make herself throw up. And I remember watching it happen on 4th Street, and we were behind some cars or something. She just ducked behind some cars and made herself throw up real quick. And I watched it happen, and I was already kind of drunk, and it was still daytime. And I remember wanting at that moment to disassociate from reality, disassociate in a way where I just wanted everything to turn everything off. And so I proceeded to go get more liquor after that. And because I love this person, and I was watching it, and I watched them hurt themselves. And I never thought about what the flip side must have been for her, because she was watching me hurt myself. So we were in a bad place, both of us. We were both doing things that were fucking hurting ourselves. And yeah, I went and got more liquor, and I got fucking so fucked up that day that I blacked out. I turned everything off. And as the sun went down, I might have browned out because I don't remember ever being that fucking drunk in my life. And I've been drunk so many fucking times, but there was something about that day that was, I could actually recollect how fucking loaded I was. As we were walking back to her apartment from 4th Street, because it was close, I remember her begging me to come inside with her. And she's like, come inside with me. We'll fuck. We'll have sex. It'll be great. Just don't go to this concert. And I'm like, no. And I was like blotto, drunk, shit-faced. And I'm like, I have to go see Black Dahlia Murder. They just signed to Metal Blade. And I have to go to this fucking concert. So yeah, she was begging for me to come home with her so we could fuck. And I think she was trying to get me to not go to the Magic Stick because she knew I was just going to drink more. Something in me that day was like, drink till you can't fucking see. And so much of it has to do with me watching her hurt herself and wanting to escape from the reality that we both were severely damaged. And this is before I started therapy. This is before I really realized the root of why I used to hurt myself. So I didn't have, all I knew is I wanted to make everything go away constantly. And that's where was the source of the alcoholism. And yeah, not till very much later did I realize that it was all for my dad and whatnot, yada, yada. But anyway, so no matter, she couldn't get me to come upstairs with her. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to the Magic Stick, which was right across the street from her old apartment. She used to live on Willis. And I went over to the Magic Stick, and next thing I know, I'm upstairs at the Magic Stick. It's 2003. It's the summer. Black Dahlia Murder is celebrating the release of their first album on Hollowed on Metal Blade Records. And I'm fucking at the bar doing shots of Jaeger and getting fucking even more hammered. As they conclude their set, I remember I ran into Mike Hasty. Mike Hasty is the dude that produced one of the songs on Downtown Brown's first album that came out in 2002. So we had just worked with Mike Hasty. Mike Hasty also produced On Hollowed by Black Dahlia Murder. I remember running into him and just being like, blah, 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 blah. I probably couldn't even talk. It probably was really embarrassing. But I remember seeing him, and the next thing I remember is as the band is concluding their set, I grabbed the microphone. And the band had already left the stage, but I was rolling around on stage at the Magic Stick after the Black Dahlia Murder performed. And I was just screaming, play some fucking Manowar. Play some fucking Manowar. And yeah, the concert ended. I wasn't ejected from the venue, but I went across the street and I climbed the back stairs to get to my then girlfriend's apartment, and I can't get the key to work because I'm too drunk to get the fucking key to work. And I remember just being super fucked up. What's weird is most of the time I would just black out and I'd wake up and not remember how any of this happened, but I have a pretty vivid recollection of this because I don't know, it was one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me in my entire life. One of the most shameful, one of the most eye-opening things that's ever happened to me in my entire life. And I'll get to it. But, I'm struggling to open this fucking door. And I think what ended up happening, she heard me from inside trying to get in, and she opened the door to just this fucking man-child. I must have been 24 years old, 23 years old in 2003. Yeah. And here I am, this man-child of a human that can't even open a fucking door. And she took me in and we went to sleep. And it's a little fuzzy, but I remember waking up and the sun was out. And I remember her being like, Neil, wake up. And I was like, all fucking still drunk. And she said, Neil, you had an accident. And I was like, it didn't really dawn on me what happened. But I was so fucking loaded that while I was laying next to her, instead of throwing up in my sleep, my body had to get rid of the alcohol. I literally just fucking let my bowels loose while I was sleeping next to her in bed. And she woke up fucking covered in my own shit. And I was covered. It was like literally we had to throw out the comforter and throw out all the bed sheets. And I had just littered her, myself in the bed with my excrement. And I used to tell this story on stage. I used to think it was funny, but it was fucking so terribly embarrassing. And I was so filled with shame. And I remember I went into her shower and I was like weeping, and I was still drunk, and I was like weeping, and I was just repeating to myself, I have a problem. I have a problem. I have a problem. And I was weeping. And this person fucking continued to date me for I don't know how much longer. Let's look up when the actual release date of Unhallowed was. Yeah, June 17th, 2003. Unhallowed is the debut studio album by American melodic death metal band The Black Dahlia Murder. It was released through Metal Blade Records on June 17th, 2003. So yeah, the timeline matches up. 4th Street Fair from 2003 and 2005 from Metro Times archives of the late Sarah Klein. Punk Rock Block Party. That's essentially what it was. Yeah, Wednesday, July 16th. So let's see what it says here. And if you don't like it, go to Arts, Beats, and Eats. The annual Positively 4th Street Fair takes place Saturday, July 19th at the corner of 4th and Holden Streets in Detroit. So yeah, there was Saturday, July 19th, 2003. Here, let's read this real quick. There isn't much to say about the 4th Street Fair that hasn't already been said. This is by this Punk Rock Block Party. And who wrote this article? This is by Sarah Klein back in 2003. If you're a lifetime fan of the festival, you already know how freaking great it is. And if you've never been, you'll simply have to go. End of story. However, let's extrapolate a bit. For about a quarter century now, the uniquely creative and eccentric denizens of the 4th Street Fair neighborhood have thrown one hell of a punk rock block party on a Saturday in July. It includes food, drink, quirky vendors, and some of the best music the city has to offer. But there's something more than that, something tacit and inexplicable, which makes this charmingly spirited and organic festival perhaps the best microcosm of Detroit smushed into one crazy fun-filled day. Blah, blah, blah. It all started 25 years ago, and yeah, the 4th Street Fair was born when someone went to go get beer. The thing with 4th Street people, they can't be bothered with exact names for festivals. It's an eclectic mix of punks, hippies, scenesters, community activists, and lovable lunatics and wise asses. They're a feisty bunch too. Several times in the past, developers have threatened to level the block in order to make one or more freeways or large impersonal buildings. The 2 blocks east of the neighborhood were in fact raised to make way for an additional freeway, but 4th Streeters told the city and the developers to take their wrecking balls and shove them. Through resilient protesting, the residents have saved their beloved block thus far. Yep, this year's event boasts 3 stages of performers, including Queen Bee, this is 2003, Queen Bee, the Lantern Jack Thrall, Demolition Doll Rods, Forge, and the Detroit Cobras. I remember seeing all of these fucking bands that day. Yep. There's no website, no concrete schedule of bands with times. You know why? Because it's the 4th Street Fair, and that's the way it is. You're going to just have to show up and enjoy yourself. You're going to have to watch the Jim Morrison, Val Kilmer Doors movie, get fucking drunk, watch your girlfriend at the time, make herself throw up, get really fucking weirded out by it, continue to drink, and then go to the Magic Stick and go watch Black Dahlia Murder, then yell a bunch of dumb shit into the microphone, forget how to use a key, wake up covered in your own shit, and then weep. Just weep like a fucking child, naked in the shower, cleansing yourself of your own excrement. That the only reason it was released onto your ex and released in your ex's bed and released onto your person was because of your addiction to alcohol. Because you don't know how to handle your anxiety, your PTSD, or your depression, Neil Patterson. So yeah, that was a pretty long monologue of what my interaction with Black Dahlia Murder back in the early 2000s was. But I think all of this has a lot to do with the whole growing older thing. Not all of us are given the opportunity to grow old. And it's just funny on a day where I'm celebrating me getting a colonoscopy because I've grown old enough to be let into the hallowed halls of the butt scope. Hours later, someone who is exactly my age, someone from my city, someone who I watched them come up and become successful, like firsthand. And then I watched them pretty much just fly away and be great. They're gone. It's just another fucking talented person, another loved person, another person that was revered by the community, and another person that it was a musician or a touring musician, and someone who succeeded on a way higher level on a bigger stage and did more than reach more people than I ever fucking did. But ultimately what it comes down to it is they're the homie. Like my Facebook feed is just filled with people that are like, our homie is gone. And this is something that keeps happening. This is something that just comes with getting older. And the older you get, the more you see these people that you've seen around for so many fucking years. You give them a hug and the next thing you know, they're gone forever. Which brings me to Theater Bazaar 2011. I remember we were invited to play. And for those of you who don't know, we talked about it on one of the other podcasts, but Theater Bazaar is this Halloween thing that happens every Halloween. And it started out being this kooky outdoor party on a vacant lot that they turned the vacant lot essentially into like a carnival from hell with flamethrowers and a roller coaster and all this shit. But they had to be legitimate after a certain point. The city shut them down. The party got too big. There's too many people. It was too unsafe. So they moved it to the Masonic Temple. And in 2011, Downtown Brown played. In fact, the last year Downtown Brown played. For reasons I can only speculate. I have a couple good ideas. But I remember seeing there's a dude there that since the 2000s, I mean, like right around the time we started seeing Black Dahlia Murder, we were doing shows with this dude named Jason. And the first time we ever played the Magic Stick, it all goes back to the Magic Stick. Downtown Brown playing the Magic Stick. There was a dude named Dave, who they called the Crazy Gnome, and then there was Jason Lockwood. And Jason Lockwood, fuck, man, he was in a band called Whiskey Diaries. And he was that dude, man. He was like all about the music and all about the scene and all about the people. And he would give you a hug and you would feel it. You would feel its sincerity. You would feel that this is a person that genuinely cares. It wasn't like some bullshit like, what's up, bro, hug. It was like a hug that you felt through your whole body when he would hug you. And yeah, so we hadn't kept great touch, but I mean, like back in my band's early days, 2002, 2003, 2004, when we released our second album, the Whiskey Diaries were on the bill. 2005, I remember we would pop up to Port Huron with these dudes and play shows with them. So like they were our bros. Jason was the bro. And so and then it gets to a point where what you do just has a different trajectory. You don't see the bros around as much, but there's always that, you always remember what it was like being with those bros in the early days when you're just like playing shows in front of just your friends and playing shows just for fucking nobody, but just because you love to do it. And everyone was young and had these big dreams and everyone wanted to do great shit with their lives. And then, 2011 rolls around and you see your bro. It's just like you see your bro and you're going to see your bro again, because when you see your bro that you see around town all the fucking time, you know that, hey, it's just going to be a matter of time before I run into my bro again. And so we're packing up our shit, Theater Bazaar, 2011 at the Masonic, and I see Jason Lockwood and I give the dude a hug and I'm like, I'll see you around, because in my mind, this dude ain't going anywhere. He's a lifer. This guy's like always going to be around, always going to be involved with the music scene, always going to be involved with bands, always going to be putting out records on Hell City Records. This is just a guy that's always going to be around. And fuck, I gave him a hug in 2011, like right around Halloween, and it wasn't too much longer. 2012, he was gone. He had moved to Chicago and things got really hard for him and he was gone. And that's why this shit is so eerie and hits so close to home, because I don't have to know Trevor personally to know the effect that one of the homies going away has on everybody, because of Jason. And Detroit is a small fucking town. When someone in the community, that when they go, like, it's like that could be you. And the older I get and the more this continues to happen, it just makes you feel real weird, because you're like, hey, like, that could be me. That could be any of us. This shit isn't guaranteed. And so many people lament getting older. And I complain all the time about it. My back hurts, my hip hurts, my knees hurt. But I'm here. And when this type of shit happens, it just reminds you, it's like, dude, it's like this could be you. When Lockwood passed, there could be you. This could be any of us. This shit isn't guaranteed. So it's tough to know where I'm really going with this, but it hits really close to home. This one hits really close to home. And not because I know the guy personally. It's because I know guys like this guy that have already disappeared. And I know the holes that are left in the hearts of the people who care about the homies. This shit that just doesn't go away overnight. There's a lasting, reverberating effect that happens when somebody goes like this. Somebody, beloved. And I remember that day in 2003 when I was just a drunk piece of shit screaming on the microphone. And I remember being stoked for Black Dahlia Murder. They got signed to Metal Blade. That shit doesn't happen to extreme, weird bands in Detroit. And now he's gone. And it might as well have happened in the blink of an eye, because when I think about 2003 to now, it doesn't seem very long, but we're talking almost 20 years. My band's about to do the 20th anniversary of our first record in August. 20 fucking years since our first album, 2002. It seems like the blink of a fucking eye. So it makes you wonder if 20 years can seem like the blink of an eye, then when it's your time to go, from childhood to whenever you actually go, I mean, this shit is short. this thing, life. It's short. And I can see it in my mother too. My mother's 74 years old. And her health is declining. And I've been trying not to make TikToks about my mother, but I make TikToks here and there. And let's get into this. I just want to play this TikTok that I made. It got 363,000 views, and it's still getting views. I actually had to turn the comments off, and I'll explain that. But this is the thing: is you can just tell. Whether it's from the photos in my mom's basement that I find when I'm helping her out, photos of her as a young person. I think to her, it's a blink of an eye too. I think her whole struggle in life, going from being a young girl, being raised by an abusive mom, an alcoholic dad, her escaping that, her meeting my father, her wanting a better life for her children than she had, and then her just like living selflessly for so long, just providing that for 3 children. And now, my dad's dead. He's gone. They had a really ugly breakup. He was really abusive. So it's like she was trying to escape the cycle of abuse and ended up with this fucking, he might as well have been a sociopath. We don't know. But the dude had, what's it called? He had antisocial behavioral tendencies, and all of her kids have like PTSD from the partner that she chose. So she brought all these kids into the world based on the pretense of this man promising her the world, this hardworking man who was my father, who had all of these good things going for him, and he ruined all of it. And he ruined her, and he ruined us. And you can just see it in her eyes at 74. That it all just happened so fucking quickly. And the way she talks about her life right now, she's just pretty much getting ready to embrace the end. Like, she even talked to me on the phone earlier today. She's like, what were we talking about? Getting her sewer cleaned, like a roto-rooter. Because there's a lot of tree, the roots, they get into the pipes and that's why the sewage fucking backed up. And she said something on the phone today, and she has kind of a dark sense of humor, but this shit is just like, I told her, don't joke around like that. She's like, yeah, good news. I got an appointment to get the roto-rooter done, so I might not need to get it done again until after I'm dead. And that's pretty much her joking that she might not be around another year, which is fucking nuts. But the way she talks about the relationships in her life and the relationships with her parents, like, I just get this vibe like it all goes by so fucking quick. Whether or not you die when you're 41 years old, or you die when you're 74. Because think about it. Just like, think about the difference between Trevor, Black Dahlia murder, 41. That's my age right now. I tell you right now, the last 20 years is like the fucking blink of an eye. So just add another 30 years to that. And I'll be around my mom's age. And from my understanding is as you age, it goes fucking quicker. So you add another blink of an eye to a blink of an eye, and then you're gone. Or think about all the people that didn't even make it to 41. Think about all the people that never even got to their first colonoscopy. Think about the people that died fucking 10 years ago, like Jason Lockwood. I don't even know if he was in his 30s when he passed. Because, how old was I 10 years ago? I was like 31. So he might have, he was in his fucking 30s when he went. And it's just fucking mind blowing when you think about it. Let's watch this TikTok real quick. So my mom, recently her like toilet overflowed, and she just doesn't have the arm strength to plunge her own toilet anymore. And so it was a big fucking mess, and I had to come clean it up. And you just see this sense of shame in her eyes. And it's the same sense of shame, and it's the same frustration that I would see with my grandpa when my grandpa was dying of cancer. My mother's not dying of cancer, but my grandpa was in hospice in 1999, dying of cancer. And he was living with us because we wanted to take care of him. And I was in high school at the time. And I remember he would fall out of his bed, or he would like get stuck on the toilet. And I was the man of the house. My dad was gone. So I was the motherfucker that had to like actually bear hug my grandfather and lift his dead weight off the ground, get him back into bed, get him back using his walker, because he had lost all of his strength. And so I know the shame of that. And I'm seeing the same thing happen now, however many years later, 20 plus years later, to my mother. She's losing the strength to do things around the house. She's losing the strength to, like, she needs to hire people to help her now. And she needs to rely on the help of others. And that's something that is really hard for elderly people to wrap their mind around. So I just remember you picking up my grandfather and him, the sense of shame. You could feel it. You know? You could fucking feel it. It was tangible. You could tell. He would look at you and he would just be like, I'm so sorry. He was embarrassed. And he felt ashamed. This was a man that was a fisherman, was a hunter. He was a sergeant in World War II. He killed Nazis over in France. Like, this was a man. Like, this was a man that, instead of dealing with his emotions, would just fucking drink a case of beer every day to deal with his abusive fucking wife that was mentally ill. Like, this was a man in every respect of the word. My grandfather was the man. He was the man. He killed fucking Nazis. He was the man. And here I was, a teenager, a boy, like lifting him up off the ground because he couldn't fucking use his legs anymore. So I just want to preface this TikTok that I'm about to watch with that story, because I have a firsthand understanding of the shame and the frustration that an elderly person has once they start to lose the ability to do shit. That being said, my mother is starting to lose the ability to do shit. So let's watch this TikTok that I made expressing how hard it is witnessing people who you once thought were superheroes losing the ability to do shit. And then I'll get into what the reaction was. So here we go. Let's find this fucking TikTok that I made that got 365,000 views. But back to the getting older thing. Some people aren't allotted the opportunity to even get to the point where they get old enough to where shit doesn't work anymore. Some people are gone in their fucking 30s or in their 40s or fucking when they're children. Where's this goddamn fucking TikTok? Stupid piece of shit. Stupid fucking... It's just got my face on it. Come on. No. Here it is. 372,000 views. Let's watch, shall we? This is it. It's like 9 seconds. Let's watch.
I just had to say this shit. Having a parent get older and lose the ability to do certain things fucking sucks. Watching it happen in real time, it's rough. This is rough. I just had to say.
Okay, let's watch that again. And for context, all I say, because this is right after my mother couldn't plunge her toilet and I had to help her clean up all the fucking poo. Back to poo. There's a lot of poo going on between the colonoscopy, between my shitting the bed story. Life is just filled with poo. But all I say is that watching a parent lose the ability to do stuff sucks. That's it. That's all I said. Let's watch it one more time.
I just had to say this shit. Having a parent get older and lose the ability to do certain things fucking sucks. Watching it happen in real time, it's rough. This is rough. I just had to say.
Okay, so there you go. That's what I said. And I turned the comments off. I wonder if I could turn the comments back on. Privacy settings. Allow comments. No, I can't do it. I can't turn the comments back on. But anyway, so I posted this thing on TikTok. I got 372,000 views. And there's a lot of people that were like, hey, I know what this is like. I know what you're going through. I'm sorry. I'm there too. A lot of support. But then somehow, because the way TikTok works is your video gets sent to random people. It started getting sent to baby boomers and people over the age of 50. And you know how I was talking about how my grandpa was the man and how what being a man was just like doing manly shit. And then when your emotions get the best of you, you just drink a fucking case of beer. Well, I'm not like that. I'm the type of person where if I'm getting emotional, I say something to somebody about it, or I go record a TikTok, like a 9-second TikTok where I'm just like watching your parent lose the ability to do stuff. It's rough. It's rough. And the amount of these motherfuckers that told me I need to grow a pair, that I need to man up. And then the comment that happened the most was, it sucks worse for them. Think about how they feel. And I just think it's so funny that this video got 372,000 views and there's a bunch of people watching it and they're assuming that I don't know what it's like for the person losing the ability to do stuff, that I don't know where my mother's coming from, that I never took care of my fucking grandfather when he was dying of cancer in my own house. Like I wasn't the man of the house picking him up off of the ground with his dead legs and him looking at me and with that shame and that frustration, and he couldn't even barely look me in the eyes. And he was just like, Neil, I'm so sorry. You know? And this is because cancer was taking him. And the funniest part about the internet is you put 9 seconds of you saying that something is rough, your parent losing the ability to do stuff, that's really fucking rough. You put 9 seconds of that on the internet, and a bunch of fucking boomers are going to tell you that you need to grow a pair. You need to man up. You need to fucking just help them. Like I'm not helping my mother. Like I didn't just clean up shit off of her bathroom floor. And granted, they don't know the context, but I do. So I get pissed off and I start arguing with strangers in the comments. And I'm like, yeah, I know exactly how my mom felt because I had a conversation with her about how she was feeling right before I recorded this fucking video. And in fact, the only reason I recorded this fucking video is because I'm trying to man up. I'm trying to be strong and not let my mother know how much this is affecting me. And also, I would like to add that I'm allowed to feel about this. I'm allowed to feel. And it reminds me of when my cousin died. My cousin died when he was 16 years old. He died mere weeks after getting his driver's license. Got in a traffic wreck and died. My 16-year-old cousin Jeffrey. And I remember I was at his funeral with the girlfriend whose bed I shit, who I shit all over. And I was crying. I was crying a lot. And my dad came up to me. This is back in 2003. And he comes up to me. He's like, wow, you sure got your mother's emotions, didn't you? And I'll never forget my dad trying to make me feel shame for mourning the loss of my 16-year-old cousin, who might as well have been like a little brother to me. You know? And what's funny is years after my dad dies, I post a TikTok where I talk about how it's hard watching your parent lose the ability to do stuff.
Say this shit. Having a parent get older and lose the ability to do certain things fucking sucks. Watching it happen in real time, it's rough. This is rough.
It's rough. And the funniest part about all this shit is that in the comments, my father's dead. I don't have a dad figure that is telling me to man up. But I have a bunch of strangers and a bunch of boomers on TikTok that took his fucking place. Grow a pair of balls. Man up. Be a man. Be an emotionless fucking robot. And I think that's what my dad wanted. I think what my dad wanted is a stoic, emotionless fucking robot that's just going to sit there through life and just be chill about whatever the fuck goes down and doesn't have anything to say about it, is unaffected emotionally and just rolls through life, just pummeling every problem with my rock hard giant dick, you know? But guess what? My dad didn't get that. My dad got me. I'm a hyper emotional dude. I think a lot. I'm hyper analytical. I have anxiety. I have depression. I have PTSD from my traumatic childhood with my dad. And I might be genetically predisposed to have some sort of a colon problem. Who knows? We'll all find out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day. But I don't know if any of this rambling made sense, but to me, it's making sense. To me, actually, I feel like this is pretty good. I feel like I needed this. I feel like this is therapy with myself. The day before my colonoscopy, yeah, I made it. Yeah, and I'm proud of myself. But guess what? Not a lot of people make it. And even if you do make it, it seems like the blink of a fucking eye. And that's the other funny thing that people would write in the TikTok comments as well. They'd be like, well, you're next. They'd be like, same thing's going to happen to you. And what I would write in response before I turned the comments off, because I just got sick of it, I got sick of fucking arguing with strangers on the internet. Some people, it's not guaranteed that we're going to make it to the point where our shit doesn't work anymore. That's not fucking guaranteed. Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder, same age as me. He's a young man, 41 years old, and he's gone. So to go on some stranger's TikTok and tell them to grow a pair, to go on some stranger's TikTok and tell them just be there for your mother, man up, and for some stranger on TikTok to go on this fucking video where someone's being emotional and be like, think about how they feel. It's a shortcut to thinking. These people aren't thinking. They're just literally yelling at a stranger on the internet. You'll be there soon. I don't know. Not necessarily. Who knows? Not necessarily. So the title of this podcast is Getting Older, because that's what all of us who are lucky are doing. We're always constantly getting older, like that They Might Be Giants song. You're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're even older, and now you're even older. You're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're older still. As every second goes by, that's a second that's in the past. So, yeah, the shit hits hard because it makes me think that it could be any of us. You know, this shit is precious and we have to be grateful. And there's an ant crawling on me and biting. But yeah, my mother needs to be grateful that she's getting to the age where she starts to need help, and she needs to accept that help. And she needs to just be chill. She's retired. She has money. She's doing well. She's doing well than a lot of us are going to do. If we get to that age, you think punk rock has a retirement fund? No, fuck no. So yeah. Yeah, I have an acute understanding of the shame and the frustration that the elderly go through, because I've watched it happen not only to my grandfather, but I'm watching it happen to my mother. And I didn't really watch it happen with my dad because my dad didn't want to be a part of my life. So that is what it is. But that being said, if you're getting older, it's not a bad thing. It's something that a lot of people don't get to experience. So if I get to the point where I'm old, to the point where my shit isn't working anymore, that I would like to think that I would consider it a blessing if I get there. And also, with such minute time on this earth, don't talk shit on people's fucking internet videos, especially if they're being emotional. Let people grieve. Let people have a hard time. Let people say what they want to say. Like, what's the point of you telling them to shut the fuck up or grow a pair? It's pointless. Be nice and enjoy your time while we got it. And rest in peace to Trevor, Black Dahlia Murder. Rest in peace to Jason Lockwood. Rest in peace to all the homies who have fallen throughout the years. And I might be next. You might be next. Joe across the street might be next. You never fucking know. So let's try and enjoy this shit. Maybe. But it makes you think. All this shit makes me think. It was just yesterday. I was shitting the bed. And now I'm going to get a camera up my ass. And it was just this morning where I was proud that I made it this far. And then it was some hours later where I realized that, someone that a lot of people would consider the homie didn't get to. So you can joke around about it, about getting old. But, this shit is precious. I'm just rambling at this point. So I'm going to end it here. 1 hour and 1 minute of me trying to process these things that are called feelings that my father would rather me not have, but I do. So here I am talking to myself and trying to make sense of it all. But yeah, there you go. Love you. Take care of yourself, and hopefully, we can make decisions that prolong our existence if we want to stay. Hopefully we can have enjoyable lives even in the hellish landscape that is now. And I wish that for anyone that's listening to this, and I wish that for everyone, period. Even people that kind of suck. I hope they figure it out. So, yep. That's all I got to say today. Talk soon. Bye. Hey, do you like this video? Do you want to see more stuff like it? Well, consider being a patron of my Patreon page, patreon.com/Neil P. If you pledge monthly, you get some perks, you get some exclusive content, and you get to help stuff like this get made on the monthly. Yo, check it out.